Start. All right, recording in progress. Well done. We are just going to wait for a few minutes to see if we get any people ringing in. If not, then I say we get started.
Okay.
Okay. Cool, cool. Yeah, this part's so weird as we sit and we wait. But, you know, it's all right. I'm sure you guys are. Um, Actually, one of the questions I also want to ask you is sort of how you keep up with it all, because there's so much stuff that's coming in and out. Um, it's it can be overwhelming. I'm going to wait till 7:03 if you
Okay.
guys are okay with that, and
Yeah.
then we'll officially get
Let's see if anyone
started.
shows
And
up. So do you
and
see the logo on full screen now?
Yeah.
Okay.
let's check. Yeah, yeah, it looks great.
That's great.
Wonderful. Okay. And this part we'll edit out as well so that it looks nice and clean when we get started.
Great.
Yeah.
There's a few folks that you can follow who are really good on development of AI and content and media. So it's actually not that hard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, send me those contacts for sure. And
Yeah.
as I said for the bear pit, I am looking to um Global was telling me that Reuters and AP have been sort of looking at some of that kind of stuff. So Bear Pit, I'm looking to sort of mix things up a little bit, not just having our
Right.
industry leaders, mix things up with between having a
Hmm.
couple of journalists on there, some people from the industry, and then of course you guys, and that really sort of harnesses the conversation in terms of what are we looking at, what are we dealing with, what's happening in the newsrooms, how do they handle it, how do we ensure that we are making sure that information is getting out there, but we're also protecting the industry, right? Which is,
Right. Yeah.
essentially what you guys are doing. And I think, I mean, in conversations with everyone that I've had right now, they're like, oh my God, that's the pinnacle right now. AI and what that means and where we're at. And there's so much of that misinformation and disinformation. But then there's also the younger journalist that's accessing it, and I'm even finding there that there's a bit of lack of education in terms of how they're utilizing it. I hear ChatGPT one too many times. That makes me a bit nervous, but
Yeah, we've got some
we'll
stuff to
see.
say on that, and it's
Yeah.
it's controversial for sure
Yeah.
as well.
Okay, 7:03. I think we should get started.
Okay.
Okay, so welcome, both of you, Kevin Newman, Wilf Dinnick. Thank you both so much, co-founders of Get Fact. And as you saw from, the release that we put out, right now we are in the thick of misinformation and disinformation. What it is that we need to do in order to combat it. To highlight the work that journalists are doing, that fact checking, that sourcing is so critical and so important, but technology certainly makes it a lot more difficult even for us journalists. There's videos and whatnot that go out there that, if you look at them and they're done extremely well, and you can't tell, but there are tools out there, and there's journalists, veteran journalists such as yourself, that are saying, you know what, hey, we need to take a step back and we need to help ourselves navigate it. So I want to thank you both for joining me. I think this is amazing, and I think we're going to have a really great conversation that we'll be able to put out there. So thank you both for taking your time on a Monday night
Thanks for the invite, Angie.
This is great.
to speak with
Thank
me.
you.
I want to kind of delve right into it. Get Fact. Talk to me about sort of the birth of this, how it works, because essentially you are using AI, but AI to our benefit.
Yeah, you want me to start, Wolf?
Go ahead, please. Yeah.
So we believe, and we have a thesis about this. We believe that the only way that you can counter the amount of mis and disinformation that is already flowing into the minds of Canadians is with scale. I mean, as much as we would like journalism to still be as robust to respond in real time to the mis and disinformation out there, it's just not possible. And it's just not possible in Canada in particular. And I was thinking this morning, I don't know, did you guys see that Donald Trump tweet of the AI interview
Great.
last night? So I'll explain it for people watching who didn't. But at about 10:30 last night, he tweets this alleged Fox News report with, Lana Trump, his daughter-in-law, as the host, declaring that President Trump has created this new, marvelous new medical system in the United States. It's called MedBed or something, and that and then they go to a clip of Donald Trump saying, yes, and every American's going to get one of these cards, and you're going to be able to go to these fabulous facilities, whatever. The whole thing was made up. It was AI created, and Trump put it on Truth Social so that millions of his followers would believe that this thing existed. It doesn't exist. It's not real. And so now we've reached a stage, and I think this is like next level, where the president of the United States is knowingly engaging in AI fakery about his government's own policies. So that's what we're up against. So when Wilf and I talked about this, we thought, well, we need to, if we can, develop something like a misinformation firewall. We all know what cybersecurity firewalls are. There's a software that you put in there. We want to do a misinformation firewall. So, and the reasons, of course, were obvious. We know what a threat misinformation is to journalism. It's the number one threat to Canada, according to the Foreign Interference Commission. The number one threat to the economy worldwide by the World Economic Forum last year. And it really is the number one threat to leadership as well. 55% of our fellow Canadians now believe that conspiracies, or 56%, contain an element of truth. So here's our solution. And this is what we have created with the help of about 100 volunteers, people from the creative industries, journalism, the fact-checking groups, military intelligence officers as well. We thought if we could take some knowledge of all of our understanding of the ethical guidelines of fact-checking by the Poynter Institute, by the Canadian Center, there's a Canadian fact-checking guide. There's a, I punched in the CBC Code of Ethics, the Global News Code of Ethics. We use Thomson Reuters. The military intelligence guys put in how they sort of triangulate information. If we can train an AI to think like us, maybe there's a chance that we can spread the goodness of fact checking. And so we did that. We built something we call Laura. Laura is named for Laura Secord, the warrior queen of the War of 1812, of course. And what Laura does is, on the first iteration, is she's like a news shield. You cut and paste the URL of what you're reading into it, and then Laura goes out according to those guidelines that we set for it.
Right.
And it doesn't look at the whole World Wide Web for verification. It looks at the 500 publications that all of us recognized as validating. That they look for 2 or 3 more values. So it's a very boutique bot. So our thinking is if we could put Laura into the hands of as many Canadians as possible, then that's created that misinformation firewall. Yes, we have taken fact checking away from our profession, but we have democratized it and said there's an element of it that anybody can do, because you have to respond to it in real time. If you don't respond to it in 1 or 2 days, then it has sunk its teeth into your psyche and it's distorted your reality. So that's sort of what our thesis was. We built a website, which you can go to right now at getfact.ca.
Yeah.
This is what the return looks like. We give you, you enter in the URL at the top there, cut and paste the URL.
So just one second, everyone. Kevin's sharing his screen right now here, so you can see the presentation here. So
yeah, sorry, I've been talking here. I was hoping the screen was up.
No, it is.
Oh, okay, okay, good. So this is what Laura returns. Key takeaways. Most of the claims in this article are verified. Some prospective influence has been detected, and it's pretty good quality reporting. So it assesses the veracity of the claims under Let's Verify. If you notice here, it says 8 of the claims in that article were verified. One of them was mostly verified, one of them was partially verified, and one of them required more context. And then we build that in farther detail. We assess bias, and bias isn't just left and right bias. Bias is the kind of bias that comes from preconceived notions, the kind of bias according to what your lived experience is. Bias is broad. And then we assess the reporting quality based on our standards that we all recognize. So that's what Laura does. It doesn't tell you whether to share this article. What it does is it educates you the average Canadian into what parts of it are good, what parts of it need to be better, what parts of it might be actually bad,
Hmm.
what the biases are, and then that informs you so that you can go ahead and decide whether to share it. So what we're hoping for is that we can reach a point where this kind of thing is as common as spell checking for any document and anything you read, anything as common as grammar checking, and then you
Hmm.
fact check. Spell check, grammar check, fact check. These are some of the people that are involved. You can see Wendy Freeman, you might remember from the president of head of CTV News. Jody
Hmm.
Thomas is the former national security advisor to the prime minister. We've got a couple of JTF2 military intelligence officers. We've got a rock and roll producer, Bob Ezrin, and we've got entrepreneurs and in the AI sphere as well. So that's, in a sense, that's the essence of what we built. Sorry that took so long.
No, and I think it's phenomenal. And I love the fact that, I mean, behind all of this, we're also seeing here are the people that we are working with. And it is a broad range, which is so critical because as journalists, that's what we do. We don't just look to one or two experts, we look broadly and we dig deeper, which is exactly what you're doing. I find what's interesting about all of this because there's this interesting debate when we hear AI. On the one hand, it's like, oh my God, AI, it's watching you, it's going to take over, it's going to do whatever. But clearly, in this case, this is a positive way of how we can utilize AI to our benefit. So, if you can talk to me a little bit about some of the concerns that you may have come across when presenting this, because we're accessing our information very, very differently for when the three of us, I mean, hey, let's be honest, it was a notebook, it was a pen, and you hit the streets and you hit the phones. That's how we got our context, and we did it famously well, interestingly enough, compared to needing the technology. No, Kevin, you did a good job. Compared to you went, you met people. That's hardly the case now. You usually kind of go through your technology first. So if you can kind of give me a sense of how we access how the fact that we access our information differently, how AI plays into that, in both a positive and negative way.
Well, I mean, let me just jump in with one thing on that
Yeah.
most people are overlooking and actually makes this whole mission even more critical. NewsGuard, which is a tool that corporations use, not dissimilar to what we're building, a bit different, but they did a multi-year study. They're finding that there's 35% more errors in the big AI chatbot
Mm,
than there were last year at the same time.
hmm.
The guardrails are off. Last year, they were returning about 30% non-answers. So we can't answer that, or that's not safe to answer. That's fallen
Right.
to zero.
Mm,
What we know is that these chatbots, they're all racing for that goal of intelligence, general intelligence that they're trying to get.
hmm.
Whatever company gets it, they're going to get the whole kit and caboodle. So they're racing. So they're racing to engage us. They're
Hmm.
racing for fluency. They're giving us suggested answers. They're not giving us the answers that are verifiable. Now, you could dig in, ask a question after question on these chatbots. Even then, you might not see the source, the citing.
Right. Yeah.
So the thing here is, and this is the whole problem, if we are continuing or increasingly getting our information from AI, if this is going to be our source, these chatbots are not going to be the great source of verification.
Right.
The other problem with that, of course, is just it's practical for these guys not to get in the business of verification. It
Hmm.
opens up legal problems.
Hmm.
Declare a fact is just messy for these big platforms. And as well, their political blowback of not adhering to maybe the Trump administration's version of free speech. So then you're going to get into these debates. So all that to say is it's actually getting worse. So when you're digging in, when you can't, and then there was a recent poll, I think it was done by Proof Strategies, and they looked at Gen Z. Gen Z
Hmm.
trusts AI almost as much as they trust the news sites in the polling.
Mm.
So it's really, so we're caught in this moment. And I
Yeah.
think the point Kevin and I always make is like, this isn't like the internet that unfolded over a couple of decades. This
Right.
isn't like, the Industrial Revolution, which over more than a generation. This
Yeah.
is happening like at lightning speed. Like we can
Hmm.
barely keep up. And so the industries that matter most, like the fact checkers, it's just impossible to keep up with the slop, the insane amounts of content that they're putting out.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing I just wanted to point out that really drives us because
Yeah.
we're kind of asleep at the switch here, right? Like there's so many other problems going on in Canada. We have so many
Yeah.
other challenges globally. Journalism is under attack, but quietly, this is eroding our ability to
Hmm.
find out facts.
Well, because we can't. I mean, to your point, Kevin, the example that you gave about that, what's happening in the States and this new medical system and whatnot, and Trump saying, yeah, 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 this is what's happening. It's becoming more and more difficult to determine what is misinformation, what is disinformation, as these AIs learn, as these chatbots learn, because again, we're creating them, right? So we're refining them and they're taking the information that we're putting into them. Makes it very, very difficult to have those conversations. Even right now, I feel the conversation we're having, I almost guarantee after we've done this webinar, I'm going to start getting emails. You're going to start getting emails about some of this stuff because we know that's sort of where it works out. You mentioned the Gen Z. Who would you say is the bigger target here, or is it balanced? And the reason I ask that is, I mean, the younger generation is so technologically savvy. I mean, they don't know what to do without it in their hand.
But
However,
but they
yeah,
are much more savvy at spotting mis and disinformation.
true, which is why I bring
Much
the
more
older
savvy than you and I are.
generation, because my parents, when COVID was happening, and other people, they were getting their news off of YouTube and Google. And the only thing I kept asking is like, what's your source? And they kept saying it's Google. I said, no, 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 but what's your source? Well, it's Google. And I said, well, Google's not a news
Yeah.
organization. Google is a search engine which you're gathering information, but from what? So
Yeah,
what
well,
would you say
this is the
then?
other
Yeah,
tricky thing is that like it is the older people who are the most likely to share bad information,
right.
and they are also the least likely to trust AI. And so we face sort of this strange thing that the tool that will probably help solve the biggest part of the problem may not be one that they're willing to adapt as easily. But you brought up a really interesting point though, and that's and Wilf touched on this too. Is like he called it, what did you call it? Like a sewer of crap that's coming at
Yeah,
it.
AI slop.
But there was this
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
piece in the Free Press a couple of weeks ago where it pontificated because of what Wilf has said about all these, relying on the big chat GPTs and the Groks and the Geminis of the world for your fact checking. If you continue to do that, it's getting dumber. But what ends up happening is it wants to please you.
Mm,
So in like we have trained Laura to love the gray, to swim in the gray like we all do as journalists. Like there's is
right.
like black and white is so not the way things really are. They're mostly in the gray.
Yeah.
So but those big LLMs look for black and white because they want to please you. And they're
Right.
learning about you. They're learning how you talk. They're learning, they're learning if you put in your medical records. They're learning about your medical thing. Like they're keeping a file on you now
Yeah.
that is constantly updating. So they're creating a reality for you.
Mm,
They're creating a reality for you around fact checking. So right now we live in two realities, right? People might call it left, right. They might call it progressive, MAGA, whatever it is. But there are two very different realities. In a year, this article suggested, we're going to live in multiple realities, the multiverse. Because if we rely on those big LLMs to check facts and for our information, they're going to feed us what we love, dig our trench deeper into the ground,
mm.
and we're going to lose our sense of shared reality.
So do we need to go back to our grassroots? I mean, just even as journalists, do we need to go back to our grassroots to what I alluded before, where it's literally your pen, your pad of paper, and you're talking, you're physically talking to people, you're going out and you're sourcing things out. I mean, as we navigate this into the newsroom and we've got our younger journalists are coming in there, chase producers, writers, what have you. Um, One of the things I've noticed as well is some of those fundamental skills they don't have, and they're relying on the technology to give it to them. So, what would you say? Do we need to be taking some of those steps back and say, "Hey, we got to teach you the fundamentals so that now you know where all of this comes from, and now you can deal with what we have in front of us."
Or they could use get fact. No.
Yeah, well, no, you can't, right, absolutely. But
Yeah.
you know where I'm
But
going with this.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that's done. I don't think you can stop people from using technology that they know how to use. I know, like at the CBC, where you work a lot, their visual investigations unit is redefining journalism for the next generation in
Hmm.
remarkable ways. And so I don't know. I mean, I think uh, we have to let go of the notion that only journalists can fact check,
Hmm.
and we have to train the other people in our lives how to do it.
Mm.
And if the problem has been, frankly, there's been no tool to do it. You can train people
Hmm.
to fact check, but like, how long did it take us to figure that out, right?
Yeah.
That was a lot of months. But there hasn't been a tool before now to do it, and we won't be the first tool. We won't be the last tool. There will be tools to do it, but we have to explain, I think, why facts still exist. I think that's where we're at as a society. That
Right.
you can argue about truth, which is why we don't assign truth. We assign
Hmm.
facts, but you have to make a stand in this world of no shared reality, that some things are just factual. Three people
Hmm.
see a tree fall, the tree fell.
Hmm. Wolf, what would you say? Like, what would you say to younger journalists? As they're navigating through what I think we've reiterated over and over again, our industry is constantly changing, whether it's a funding factor, whether it's access to information, whether it's how we're doing the
Yeah.
news, whether it's what our newsrooms look like, which are unfortunately much smaller than what the three of us can remember when we first started.
And I think our audiences have changed so much, as
Yes.
you said. So, for instance, if I was in that position as a young journalist, I'm thinking about my audience and I'm thinking there's a lot of different realities. And from a
Hmm.
big picture, we know that big issues in this country won't get solved if we can't agree on those shared realities, whether that's the climate, whether that's crime. What are the statistics with crime? Our science around vaccinations. We can't get swarmed up with other misinformation out there that either foreign actors are putting in our systems or, listening to, RFK Jr. So I think, it is that clarity of fact. It's like really important to come back to that. This is
Yeah.
not he said, she said. There's facts. Like there's a lot of noise out there, but here are the facts. And I think that really, really matters. And that sounds like a pitch for Get Fact, but that's why we did it, because there's so much when you look at the public conversation, there's just so much
Right.
misinformation. I mean, forget about your dining room table, forget about, your crazy uncle. This is like in the news, there's misinformation. People
Right.
picking up bits that they assume are facts. Like this is where we have to get back. And that's where the engineers have just been incredible who've built this. Uh,
Hmm.
and they basically the way it works is that they started with news and could you identify a fact in this huge data sets, then take it and verify it against other trusted sources that we know and understand that fact checks.
Hmm.
And then it has to deal with nuance and judgment. And so then they had all these other AI agents working together step by step in different processes to get here.
Hmm.
So, humans can't even agree on sometimes what the facts are. So again, as Kevin said, like it's digging into these things, really understanding them, and making sure they're grounded and that
Hmm.
they're clear and transparent.
Well,
And
and that fact checking, I mean, I hope what people, if you use it, you'll realize that fact checking is complicated.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
And if we can do nothing else, then we can train the next generation of consumers of information to not assume that something always comes from the left or something always comes from the right. That
Right.
is to us anyway, that's just a false comparison created by political parties so that they can raise, $5 donations, a million at a time. It's
Hmm.
not the way society is. It's not the way information is. It's not a left or right thing. It's about seeing how many people witnessed and agree that this same thing happened.
My last question to you both, where, and I always tend to ask this because as I'm, looking ahead, but where do we go from here? Are we looking at a sense of call to action? But where are we going from here? Because I mean, now we're looking at sort of this as a broader range as a society, right? Not just us as journalists and the work that we do. We're going to continue to do what we do, but now we're dealing with the bigger picture because society is accessing their information from a much larger platform than what it used to be. You know, your morning, your noon, your 6 o'clock, your 11 o'clock news, the newspaper, you know, et cetera. So, what would you both say?
Wow.
You go first.
Well, so are you asking the question from our point of view or just generally about AI?
Kind of a little bit, well, because you're kind
Okay.
of so in the thick of it, like from your perspective, but I guess in
Yeah.
a bit of a broader sense as well.
Well, I think, I guess my concern is that if these big platforms are going to get better, and we hope they will, although, if we take them at their word. We just have to look at what social media did to our society when they promised to fix those things, and that
Yeah.
never happened. So I guess my concern is for a country like Canada that has very unique information that is, at least separate from the neighbor to the south, which
Hmm.
has all this noise. Are we going to lose our sense of identity? And it sounds paranoid, but if you're searching for something, will that AI be able to find those databases quickly in
Mm.
Canadian society that may be about an Aboriginal law or maybe about, other issues? Again, back to Kevin's point, it's very hard now in our world to hold two contradictory thoughts at the same time. We were
Hmm.
talking the other day that, you can say that you believe in climate change and you need to solve it, but also we have to use fossil fuels for now to some degree to keep the economy going.
Yeah.
But, on social or in the public conversation, or as Kevin said, in politics, it's either that you want to see the planet burn or, you're a green crazy person. And so I just worry that we're not this is again back to the facts where we
Mm.
really need to have conversations about a shared reality that we agreed on, and that's disappearing very quickly. So I,
Hmm.
I hope AI is going to get better and better, but for sure we need tools where people can actually dig in and decide for themselves. Okay,
Yeah.
I understand now. I see the source, and if you look at the tool and Kevin did a lot of the UX, which is not meant for quick consumption. It's not frictionless at this point, but
Right.
it's like pull over like look under the hood. Like it's so
Right.
detailed. And I'm not, I didn't build it, so I can boast for the team. This is a world-leading tool. We have been approached by people who are engineers who work in this space who say that our tool is way ahead. So the point being is the audit trail is there. It's very
Hmm.
transparent. You can dig in and you can decide and you can debate and you can say, okay, I now see it's a lot more complicated than I thought. So
Yeah.
it's not a
Absolutely.
really quick answer, but I hope that gives you the context to where I see the problems and I hope where the solutions are going to come from and hopefully from us.
And I
Absolutely.
fear that in the
Yep.
next year, we're going to become the next Moldova, the next Ukraine, the
Mm.
next Baltic states. That the hybrid warfare that is being aimed at those countries now, that they are learning to withstand
Hmm.
because they have been withstanding it a lot longer than we have. We've been withstanding hybrid warfare around disinformation at a very low level up until now. There's nothing to say that the current government of the United States isn't going to turn its ability to impact our way of thinking against us, which it has not done yet. The
Hmm.
Russians are here, the Chinese are here, the Iranians are here, the North Koreans are here, the Americans have not been. But we have a referendum coming up in Alberta for Alberta separation in the next year. We
Right.
probably have a referendum possibly in Quebec if the Parti
Hmm.
Québécois wins there. We are entering a period of political instability, of massive economic instability, and we are ripe for the picking for misinformation. If we
Hmm.
don't wake up and if we don't arm ourselves and if we don't start thinking harder about the information that we're consuming, then not to put too fine a point on it, we could lose the country.
You know what? I agree. I think we saw things start to fall apart around COVID and how quickly things turned, how quickly opinions were created based on information that you couldn't even catch up to trying to verify. and discuss. And, and if things got really, really scary, we saw that. And I don't think things have tamed down. I think we're just seeing it coming in different forms. And to your point, those that are in areas of influence, whether it's here or south of the border in other countries or whatnot, are taking this tool and utilizing it to engage their influence even more over, I think, society that is desperate for some level of direction and hope and answers. And we're now heading down a very, very deep and dark hole. I would love to continue this conversation, and hopefully, maybe we're sort of steering towards things that are more positive. But technology is not horrible, but technology can be dangerous if it's not utilized correctly. And clearly, what you guys are doing with Get Fact is utilizing that technology to our benefit.
Right.
So I want to thank you both. This was phenomenal, and this will not be our last conversation, indeed. You both know that. Getfact.ca, we will have the links on our website, and vice versa. As Get Fact, I'm very excited to say that we are partnering together to support each other and to support Kevin and Wolf and the entire team with what they're doing, because this is, to me, is where the support needs to be and where things start as we sort of continue to harness what we've been doing for decades and where we see that industry going, but also in what we need to do as our jobs. As we say, we're at the front line to support society. So thank you both so very much.
Thanks, Angie.
This has been such a pleasure, and we will be speaking again soon.
All right.
And of course, for
Don't
those
you have
that are
another
listening
CBC show
before-
that you're hosting that you have to run to?
No, I have to take my
You're the
daughter to
hardest working
volleyball.
woman in show business. My God.
But we will actually continue this conversation again, and I want to sort of point this out during the Bear Pit at our National Gala on November 1st. So look forward to that. But both of you, thank you so much. This has been a pleasure.
Thanks, Angie.
Bye. Take care.
Okay.
Okay, I have stopped the video.
And
Guys, I
clear.
thought that was
That's
fantastic.
fun. Yeah. Thank
I
you.
really do.
Yeah, it's
I
good.
really
Thank
do.
you.
I think we'll get really the point out there. We'll cut some clips, we'll put it out there, and I'll make sure you guys get the that you guys get a link as well. But this
Yeah.
is really good.
I'm trying to light up my
So-
bedroom like the kids do for all these things.
It looks great. It looks great. It looks great.
I've got a Christmas light in anyway.
That's
Goodbye.
We're gonna make sure all this stuff gets cut out. Okay.
Right.
Thank
Thanks,
you guys
Angie.
both
Thanks
so
for the
much.
opportunity.
Okay.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.